Well, hello, good evening. How are you?
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
everybody.
It's great to be here this evening. And as you can see, we're both here talking away. So I'm just going to pass over to my illustrious partner in crime here, who's got a little bit of info for you. So over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We are broadcasting on the Noir at the Bar Edinburgh Facebook page, Honey and Stag Facebook page, and also tonight exclusively in the A Love of Books Facebook group. If you are looking for the YouTube, that will be live tomorrow and it will be all over social media and you can share it there. Nice to see you, Dr. Noir.
It is wonderful to be back. And I think this evening, with such a very special novel to discuss, and we were just saying before coming on, were we not, that it really touched me, and I think it's a very complex book. I think it brings up an awful lot of questions, but it is so well written. I mean, the pace of
Yeah.
this novel is fabulous, and it just left me with so many questions that I hope the author in question tonight might be able to shed some light. And a big hello to Daisy Jean, who's joined us this evening.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, and Hannah Ray. There's people coming in on the discussion, so that's brilliant. Just to say, yeah, we would love to have your questions for the author. We'll be taking those questions. Big thanks to Meggie, who is fielding those questions for us. And it's just great to be here and sharing some good book space.
Yes, and I do believe that tonight we've got some of the book bloggers that are on and bookstagrammers that are on Abigail's tour as well. So,
Wonderful.
and they've already read the book as well. So hopefully some interaction from them later on in the evening.
That is great, and again, huge thank you to all those people, who have got behind this book. Um, oh, do that, Dave. You bet you. Yeah, yeah, we will do that. Okay then.
Okay,
So
take it away, and I'll let you do what you do, Dr. Noir. It's nice to
thank
meet
you. Hey, Sarah's with us. Hi, Sarah. Julie Adams. It's great to see you with us. In we go.
you. Okay.
Well, as we say, very good evening. Very special text to be discussing tonight. Save Her. And it gives me immense pleasure to welcome on here with us Abigail Osborne.
Hiya.
Hi, who from now on I am going to call Abby, if that's okay.
Thank you. Much
Yeah,
preferred.
I totally understand. And again, welcome to everybody who's tuned in. Please give us your questions. We'll take those as we go along. Daisy's put us a question, but if you don't mind, Daisy, if I can get into a little bit of discussion before we get to the question you've put there. People are saying hi, Abby, and I'll shout out who's saying hi as we go along. But how are you feeling?
Nervous, but no, excited though as well. I've had an amazing day celebrating. Actually went horseback riding this morning as a surprise by my husband. And it was very entertaining because he's never been on a horse, and I actually nearly fell off mine laughing at him because he had no idea what he was doing, and his horse just stopped and wouldn't walk, and he didn't know how to make it walk, so he just started jumping up and down trying to make it walk. So it was a very entertaining way to spend publication day, and then there's been just so much support online. It's just made me feel very, very special. It's been so lovely.
And so you should. I think, after all the time of writing and editing, and then that book emerges, and
Yeah.
that's, that finished piece. And I think, yeah, and we are here to celebrate you and that publication tonight. Sarah McGill, Hannah Ray Millington, shout outs for you, Abby. They are here, and excited to hear what you've got to say, and also I'm sure they're going to ask some questions. Yeah,
Probably.
yeah. Sarah says this book is amazing. Can't wait for the next one. For anybody who is not familiar with you, you are Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Maggie, for that. It's now or never, she says. Drop your questions in the comments section. A writer of psychological fiction.
Yeah.
And I just wonder what took you down that path. You could have chosen, I mean, crime fiction is so wide and varied. Why go
Yeah.
down that path?
Well, with my first book, I was an accidental writer, not something that I ever intended to kind of become my career. And I started writing about something that happened to like in my past, in my first one. And I didn't want it to be like a woe is me kind of book. I wanted to take it in a different direction, and it just kind of naturally developed into the psychological fiction. I read a lot of psychological fiction as well, so I think that that's something that I thought that played into it as well. And so a lot of the things that I explore, they're not necessarily the things that I explore aren't necessarily always the happiest things that have happened to me. Like it's more other things, more complex things, and I think that that's more it is an easier genre to kind of explore those things. So that's kind of where I kind of fell into that.
Did you try any other sort of like writing beforehand?
I did when I was growing up. I did kind of play about with it, and usually when something was going on in my life is when I would be writing it down, and so I would be making it into stories. But I never actually thought that I could actually write, because when I was younger I would read a lot of fantasy before I got older, and then I moved into psychological thrillers, and the world building and stuff, it's just monumental, the stuff that they create out of nothing. And so I've always been quite intimidated by the I was like, I could never make something up, and it still amazes me now that I've actually made this up. Like I'm kind of disbelieving still that I've managed to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, but you have, and that is
Yeah.
fabulous. And I wonder, because what you've written in Save Her seems to go to the opposite extreme of fantasy novels, where this is very much a tight knit
Yeah.
group of people.
Yeah.
And it feels, and I hope you take this as a compliment. It feels extremely claustrophobic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I enjoy, I like writing about things that are real. I love reading fantasy because that's like escapism, but I like when my writing to write about things and explore things that have happened around me, and things. So yeah, so I do take that as a compliment.
Good, good. Now, there's a couple of questions already, and Maggie wants to know, to celebrate Publication Day, she says, has there been cake? Hopes there been cake, or will
I
there be
was really
cake?
greedy and had my cake early. I did organise it for the publication day, and then I got really greedy, and there's a lovely lady in the village that I've just moved to, and she makes cakes, and so I said to her, oh, I'll get some in advance of publication, just to check what they look like, and then I just ate so many of them, that I didn't order again for publication day because I ate like so many. So I've had my cake fix for the year, I think. But yeah, they're on Instagram. They're actually she's done an amazing job. So on my Instagram you can see pictures of the cake, and I bought 12 and I think I only shared 6. So I had my cake early.
I shall go and check those out. I want to see the delights that you had.
They're really good. Of all my Instagram posts, that got the most amount of likes.
I understand why. Cake is most important. So Alistair asks, hi Alistair from Oxfordshire. He says, when you say you were an accidental writer, what got you started?
I was actually in a job where I was not getting very much work. I was in a position where I was being paid a salary, but the company that I worked for moved offices and kind of forgot about me because I was their West Midlands representative. I did training for disabled students on software, and I was getting like 2 hours a week of work. And at first it was great, and then I started to go insane because all my friends were working. I was dying of boredom, getting cabin fever. So I started doing the book blogging, and I had a book blog, and then I did a book tour for Caroline Mitchell,
Yeah.
a psychological thriller writer, and she messaged me and said, your book reviews are so well written, have you considered writing? And that's when I thought about it seriously and began to kind of like play about with things that have happened to me, and then it just kind of grew from there. So it wasn't while I was writing, I was just doing it to kill time. It wasn't anything to go anywhere. And that's why I self-published, because I thought, oh well, I'll just kind of see what happens. And then it's just kind of gone, this has happened. so yeah.
That is a beautiful story, and that idea of you never know where something is going to take you. I think that's fabulous. Now there are some more questions, and we will take them. But you have promised to give us to whet our appetites,
Yes.
and we're going to have 2 readings.
Yes.
So one before the half hour and one after. So we'll sit back and Abby, if you will.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'm doing reading from chapter 3. So the beginning of the book, you see we start with our main characters, Flora and Sophie, and Flora's mother-in-law is in hospital, and it kind of, the following chapters are about how that happened. So in chapter 2, she has met, she runs the centre for children with autism, and she has an open day, and a lady comes in called Linda who wants to send her autistic child there, but she can't afford the fees, and she has to and so that is kind of percolating in Flora's mind as she goes to her mother-in-law's for their ritual Friday night dinner. And that's where I'm going to read from now. It was with a bad taste in her mouth that she went up the tree-lined driveway leading to Cavendish Manor. As she handed her key to the valet, she wondered if Linda had ever been able to afford a car. It was the hole in Linda's shirt that she thought of as she gave her coat to the butler, a frumpish elderly man called Reginald, who probably earned more in a week than Linda did in a year. It was Ethan's grey raincoat with the rip in one sleeve that she pictured as she listened to Cecelia agonise over whether they should spend Christmas at their French mansion or in their holiday home in Spain. And it was just as the lemon souffle was served and Cecelia was informing them that she had had the chef throw out the first batch because they didn't all match, that Flora's misery and frustration erupted like a volcano. She didn't mean to do it. Her impotence at being unable to help Linda, combined with her dislike of Cecelia, had silenced her sensibilities. Before she knew it, in a voice that she hoped mirrored Cecilia's when she was delivering one of her backhanded compliments, Flora interrupted her mother-in-law. Oh, Cecelia, before I forget, we won't be around for Christmas this year as we are planning to have it in our new house on our own. The room went as silent as a crypt. Sam's spoon hovered in the air as he looked at her incredulously. They had agreed to wait until they'd signed the paperwork, and Sam had wanted to talk to his parents on his own. As soon as she had spoken, she knew she'd made a mistake. She wanted to chase after the words and gobble them back up. She closed her eyes, praying that it was all just a dream, like the many occasions at night where she would picture what she should have said to Cecelia, but was never brave enough to actually say. But when she opened her eyes and looked across the table to her sister-in-law Sophie, she saw her face had lost all its colour. She had done the unspeakable. Greg, Sam's brother, looked dumbfounded, his mouth wide open in shock. Alistair, Sam's father, was looking at her intently, but she could not read his expression. She wanted to explain to them that Cecelia had made her do it. After years of abusive, snide comments, she had finally had enough. That being with Linda and Ethan, 2 people in genuine need, had meant she could not stand the shallowness of Cecilia's conversation anymore. Cecelia used none of her wealth to help people. Did she even realise that people like Linda existed? That they had real life problems that were more important than which house to spend Christmas at and whether they should get there by bloody plane or helicopter? Accustomed to the power that had come with the family wealth, Cecelia was only concerned with the chess game that was her own life. She put her pawns where she wanted them and expected them to do as they were told. Sam and Flora lived in the house that Cecelia had bought for Sam, when he turned 18, a house that was next door to the one she had bought for Greg, his brother. These houses were coincidentally 5 minutes around the corner from Cavendish Manor. Flora had known that she would be apoplectic when she found out that Flora and Sam were moving away. Cecelia did not allow her pawns to move of their own accord. However, she did not foresee her mother-in-law collapse into the floor like a statue, clutching at her right arm. There we go. All done.
Oh my goodness. Well, can I just say, I'm sure there's more than one viewer being in that kind of situation around the family table of saying something that has gone down like a lead balloon. And also the idea of just the clutch, the grip
Yeah.
that a certain family member might have, and it might not necessarily be the mother-in-law, but
Yeah.
there's somebody, yeah, and we're going to get to that. Abby, thank you so much for sharing. It just feels creepy. You've got that creepy thing going in me again. I'm glad you have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to some people's questions so I can catch my breath after what you've been saying. Let me scroll back up.
I was worried that there was nothing.
Yeah, thank you. Look,
Wasn't gonna
Hannah
be
Ray
there.
has got a fabulous question. And how much you wish to reveal, well, that's up to you, Abby. But is there anything in the book that you've taken from your life?
Yeah, I am shamelessly stealing things from my own life, mainly probably to do with my husband. The character Sam that Flora's married to has a lot of the sayings and things that my husband has. Like, he actually said to me some of the phrases that are in the book, so things like that. So I'm always putting things in my first book. I put in mine and Jamie, my husband's first date. I put it in word for word, like what we did, and it was because it was really lovely. So and my husband, luckily for me, does not embarrass easily, so he doesn't mind me doing things like that. So so I like to put things like in that, and I think it makes it nice for my friends and my family as well, and they recognise like where my favourite restaurant is and stuff like that. So I am very much a write what you know sort
Yeah.
of person. So I put a lot of things in there like that.
Thank you. I wanted to ask. So the setting for the book, and then I'll put Nathan's question to you. Where is the book set?
It is set in Manchester. I was trying to stretch myself as a writer, because in my first book, like I said, it was my first foray. It wasn't anything that I've intended to publish. And so in my first book, it was set in Worcester and in the Lake District. So I'm from the Lake District and I now live in Worcester. So and then there was literally 3 characters in that book, and one of them was a cat. So I tried to stretch myself as a writer, and so I set it somewhere that I hadn't been, and used Google Maps. And I also went to stay to visit one of my friends in Crewe, and she kind of did me a drive-by safari of Manchester and some of the more affluent areas of Manchester as well. So I used that as my research.
So yeah, because I'm just thinking, write what you know, but then you took the challenge to write something different. Lovely. But just coming back in on that, look at the question from Nathan Minty Bobbleton.
One
Nathan,
of my friends.
yeah, he says, now you live in a village and have the lifestyle around village life. Will this influence your further publications?
I think it depends what I write next. It probably will, because like I said, I like to pepper things in that of my life into the books. I feel like I just like doing that. So so yeah, probably it probably will. Yeah.
Excellent.
The place I actually live now is actually the setting for the Archers on the Radio 4. They based it on the Archers, so the village I live in has already been stolen, really. So I'm sure they wouldn't mind.
I'm just seeing a psychological thriller fusion with the Archers. I wonder if you could, combine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're already going that way in the Archers. They've had like domestic abuse storylines and all sorts, so they're already they're way ahead of the game.
Yeah. So there's so many questions here. I've got some to bring, but I'd like to. People are just, it's lovely what they're putting on here. So let's use theirs. L says, what was your inspiration for the story Save Her?
Yeah. So, funnily enough, this is the owl the book is dedicated to.
Is it really?
It is, yeah.
Wonderful.
She's always there supporting me. So I started with an idea, and then it developed into so much more. But my initial idea and inspiration was I've always had a kind of a fascination with friendship. I moved around a lot when I was a child, like in my early years. So I've never had like a friend from childhood that I've known all my life. And I've never really been able to. And then when I did settle down somewhere, everyone had already got friendships. So I never kind of met someone until I got to university. And in my first year, I met a girl and we just hit it off. So honestly, it was indescribable, and it was instant, and the connection was just instant, and it was amazing. And my world just revolved around her, because I'd moved 4 hours away from home. I didn't know anyone, and she was like my lifeline, and we were like that for each other. But then when we fell out, which you do over stupid things, I had no friends because I had wrapped myself around this one person, and it was just like that moment when I had no one, and I was like in the big bad world all on my own, 4 hours away from home, has always stayed with me. And so that's what I started with and what I originally wanted to write, and then it just became so much more as I started writing, but that was the initial idea.
I found that painful, the way it brought for me up things from the past, from back in school and things like that. So again, I want to say, I think, your writing is so evocative.
Thank you.
It's powerful stuff. And I do think, the cover, and it's a beautiful cover, but
It's really good.
Yeah, but I also think, though, that it doesn't actually tell you the complexity that is found beyond that page. You pack a punch. You pack a punch between the pages, and that is just fabulous. Leanne Bone Murphy says, Kerry said, you can read to her anytime. We both think you're amazing and can't wait to read it. We love you. Yeah, seriously, you are going to really, this is a book to blow you away. So Daisy Jean says,
that's an interesting question.
Yeah, because you've a selection here. Or,
I do.
Who did you most enjoy writing, or who's your favorite character?
I actually quite liked writing Cecelia. I did. I found her really interesting to explore, because it's kind of it is a kind of a stereotype, the mother-in-law that doesn't approve, and I really enjoyed writing, like getting into that mindset and just exploring why people are like that. And so I enjoyed. I can't say any more really without kind of ruining anything for people that haven't read it. But I enjoyed writing her. I found her really fascinating.
Again, I'm sure for most of us, that sense of knowing someone who has that power over people, who we don't really dare to talk back to or stand up against. And she is, she's formidable. Yeah. It makes me a bit scared about you, though, now, thinking.
Well, I think it's everything I wish I could be, in a sense, because I think why I found her so fascinating is I am absolutely useless in an argument, or I struggle with my confidence, and I don't obviously want to be formidable, but I would like to be able to be more honest with what I think, and be that upfront with how I feel sometimes. So I think I found her quite liberating. Obviously she's not very nice, but I found her, I did have a sense of respect for the fact she does let you know, like she does say things and lets them know how she feels. So I did kind of find that side of her, that I think that's why I found her fascinating to write.
Great, thank you. There's a question from Alistair. And he says, loving that answer about you and your husband, but what advice would you have for someone starting out with writing? And what advice will you have for someone who will soon have their first thriller published? Where do you buy the cakes?
Yeah, they were really epic cakes. To be fair, I was really lucky. You have to. I don't know. You'll have to have a look around, but I'm sure there's other people that make good cakes. But yeah, I got mine from a local lady in the village. She's amazing. I tagged her on Instagram, so you can go and have a look. But yeah, advice. Just starting out. I'm not sure. There's so many things I wish I told myself, because I did the self-publishing route because honestly, one, it was because I didn't actually intend this to be my career. I was just dipping a toe in because I was like, well, I finished a book now, what do I do with it? But I also self-published because I knew that if anybody rejected me, I'd never do it, because my I'm getting better, but my confidence is not what it should be. And then it was even worse. So I would say have confidence in yourself. And if you want to go down the traditional publishing route, do it and pursue it, because I think that there's an opportunity for everyone. I think everyone has a book in them. So I would definitely do that. And it's good to have like a publisher behind you if you're not so good with the marketing and things like that. You need to be for self-publishing, you need to be a business person as well as a writer. So just have faith in yourself is what I would say, because that's something that I've learned.
I'm going to slip thank you, Abby, for that. I'm going to slip one of my questions in because I think it fits in with what you've just been saying, although it's lovely to see there's more coming in. I just wondered that the process with Bloodhound, it's so good that they've published you. It's really, really good. Shout out to Bloodhound. What sort of steps did you go through, in approaching them? How did it go? What was the experience?
A really so I did not do the traditional way of doing things. So I was very, very lucky. I self-published and had no idea what I was doing, and just kind of threw myself on the mercy of all the book bloggers. And so I went to Harrogate Crime Writing Festival, and the weekend before that I had published an article on Joe, my Chestnut Reading Tree's blog, about dreams coming true and what my how publishing my book, self-publishing at that stage, came true. And I also put my book on for free for the first time, myself, doing it because I was self-published, and it actually kind of flew up all the charts, and it was absolutely, I was in tears a lot. It did really well. The weekend before, I went to Harrogate Crime Writing Festival, and one of the Harrogate Crime Writing Festival, when I was there, one of the commissioning editors of Bloodhound had read my book, but she thought that I had already been signed, so she didn't approach me when she'd read it. But then when she met me at the festival, when I got introduced to her, she dragged me straight over to Betsy from Bloodhound, and they kind of said, yeah, let's talk, and it went from there. So they republished The Puppet Master. So but I had to wait until the Harrogate, I met them on the Thursday, and then I had an agonizing wait to speak to Betsy on the Monday about everything. So it was like, oh, hope she still remembers me. So I was very lucky that I just I met somebody. It was not, I never applied, I've never written a submitting letter, and that is just because of my confidence. I've got a massive fear of rejection, so I was never planning on I didn't even know you could get a book republished until that they said that to me. So I was very, very lucky in that respect. So that's how I got to where I am now.
If we were to believe in the universe and it conspiring, I love the thought that knowing your personality, so the universe says we're going to make it so that she doesn't need to go through that process. We'll just it'll be fine. Yeah. Okay, so Rachel, hi Rachel, has sent in a question, and it's one of those big questions. Here it comes. You've a lot of unsettling scenes in Save Her. What inspired some of the disturbing things that happen in the book?
Yeah, that is a good question. Thanks for that. This is the Rachel that in my acknowledgements that you were talking to me before about, who I tried to set up the book club in Worcester. with.
Yeah.
So yeah, we tried to set up a book club in Worcester. But unsettling scenes. I have really crazy nightmares, to be quite honest. I have really crazy dreams about swimming. Like, I have my own pet killer whale, and other things. And I also had a dream about worms, and that went in the book. So I have a very vivid imagination when I'm asleep, and that I kind of steal from that, and just think about things that I would absolutely hate. So I've just gone through kind of things like that and just thought, what would I absolutely hate to happen to me? And I have lots of phobias, so there was a lot to choose from.
I'm going to come back to the worms in a bit. I want to know a little bit more about those. But those main protagonists, those friends, Flora and Sophie,
Yeah.
could you, again, without giving too much away, but could you talk to us about the dynamic that you've created between those two young women?
Yeah, so I think I was exploring, like I said, that kind of like what is friendship, what are the boundaries within friendship, and I've been thinking about this a lot, like thinking about this interview and what I was going to say. And I think what I was doing in the book was exploring like what's the difference between marriage and a friendship, because I've always wanted to have like somebody that I could like depend on, that like just knows what you're thinking without you even having to say anything, and you just know will do whatever it takes to support you. But like, where is the boundary? Like, where should the boundary be? And that's what I've kind of explored, because there is no boundaries to their friendship really. They're married to brothers. they just spend the same amount of time together as if they weren't married. So it was just interesting to look into that, because I have a lot of the things that I wanted in a friendship when I was younger with my husband. So like I was just exploring like, what is the difference between marriage? What should a husband do? What should a friend do? Like, what is their roles in your life? What is a healthy friendship? What is a healthy marriage? How much is right to expect of somebody? That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, I really, I very much appreciate what you say about, you know, what can we expect from someone
Yeah,
who, you know, purports to be friend,
yeah,
husband, partner, um, and the pressures that we might exert on someone else, you know,
yeah,
and then the whole thing of codependency, you know, how is it good to be close to someone and not too close, all
yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah, again, you got me thinking about so much, you know, and I'm still ruminating on these questions. Now, if anybody's got more questions, please do keep putting them in. And there's one from Michael that I want to save for a little bit later on.
Okay.
But I'd like to come back to maybe another like strand that runs through, and I think it came out even in the reading that you gave us, that there's the notion of social inequality.
Yeah,
Those people who, you know, are born into to wealth,
yeah,
or with privilege, and those people who don't. And when those two worlds collide,
yeah,
how do people react? From,
yeah,
let's say, from both sides of the divide. I don't tend to work in
yeah,
binaries, but I think those that have and those that don't.
yeah.
How do you feel? How, you know, were you wanting to explore that?
As I said to you before, this is actually something that I've just recently realised I've done. Like, I was I've only since I've kind of like looked at it afresh and thought about it afresh, that I've realised that a lot of what I struggle with and worry about in terms of that is actually in the book. So I do have a lot of issues, and I do constantly think about like the social inequality, and I do struggle. Like I was saying to someone that like, I don't do, my mum is a nurse, some of my friends are nurses, and they earn pittance really compared to myself, and I don't know, and I find it real hard to reconcile that, because they save lives, they put their lives at risk, and they're not getting, and I do a good job, I help disabled people access equipment, but I'm not saving their lives. I'm not doing 12-hour shifts, and sometimes I'll earn money for half an hour's work, and I'll be like, how can I earn that and then
Yeah.
there's other people doing things more important, and so that's kind of come across in the book. And there's also like I find it really hard when you walk past someone and they're homeless on the street, and I ignore them because I don't know what to do, and I have to live with that. And it's something I think about a lot, and I don't get involved with charities and things because I am such a sensitive person. I would get too involved and stuff. And it's that sense of, well, what is my responsibility? What should I be doing? And the guilt that I feel, I think I've actually subconsciously put into Flora. But I've also put in other people's points of view. Well, I work hard for my money, so I deserve it, which is what Sophie's point of view is. And then there's some people that are just oblivious, like Cecelia, that just don't even think about it because it wouldn't even register for her.
Yeah, it's not part of their world.
No, they wouldn't even think so. So it's actually really interesting that I've written about something I'm really passionate about without actually intentionally intending to do so.
That really speaks to me, though, of how, of of letting the writing happen. And things being there. Daisy Jean, again, as it's a beautiful comment, I think, that she's put up, and she says, I feel in some ways the book threw up more questions than answers.
Right. Okay.
And again, I think it's, I think those questions are for us as readers.
Yeah.
Maybe it is that what you have created, there's two aspects to it. There's the chance to read, a cracking thriller, and then there's the chance, for that mirror to be turned, and for us to be thinking about our lives and who we are and how we react to things, just as you've been saying. So yeah, 2 books for the price of 1 in a way, if not more.
That's a good way of thinking about it.
Yeah. Now, I wonder, the title.
Yeah.
And the title for me threw up, again, questions, and the idea of the helpless female.
Yeah.
That somebody needs to save her, whoever that might be. In choosing that title, what did you have in mind?
It's hard without giving away too much to kind of say, but there is a double meaning behind it, and if you read the book, I'm hoping you'll pick up the second meaning. But for the first meaning, obviously it's the obvious one that Flora think is going to it's about each of the girls thinking they need to save the other, and it's just that's how I kind of came up with it. It was about it was just that, really. It's hard to say because I don't want to like spoil the ending. But yeah.
Oh no, you mustn't. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't with the kind of helpless female in terms of that. It was more about like what they thought and their motivations in the book.
Great, thank you. Now, would you mind, because I can't wait for a bit more of the book. Well, I would, if you share that with us, because these are glorious words that you've put together. So I'm going to sit back, and Abby, it's over to you.
Oh gosh. Okay. So this section, as hinted to in the back of the book, Sophie's marriage is not what it seems, and this is just a section that kind of demonstrates that. So this is from Sophie's point of view. It was the hole in his sock that started it. Greg's hairy big toe was peeking through the hole, and Sophie couldn't stand it. You need to throw those socks out, she said, barely concealing the disgust in her voice. He didn't even look up at her. After how he spoke to her in front of Sam and Flora last night, he should be grovelling for her forgiveness. She continued to stare at his big toe, and it seemed to magnify under her scrutiny. The curly hairs on it revolted her. The more she looked at it, the angrier she became. When they had first met, she had been seduced by Greg's effortless sophistication. His Calvin Klein suit was impeccable, he was well-groomed, and took pride in his appearance. Fast forward 5 years, and she was sat staring at him as he lay spread-eagled on the sofa, dishevelled, shirt mucky, and half the buttons undone with a great big hole in his sock. She felt conned. A fierce anger began to bubble within the pit of her stomach. Her body was shaking, and she wanted to scream. The frayed edges of the sock burned into her retinas. It was like the hole in the sock represented his contempt for her. When had he stopped respecting her? Hadn't she proven to him time and time again she was his equal in every way? Her life was not meant to be like this. He had promised her a life of excitement and power, not one where she would be sitting in an armchair reading a magazine on a Sunday night with her unkempt husband barely exchanging a word. Her feeling of impotence at how her life had turned out forced her into action. She stood up. Greg didn't seem to notice. Take off those socks. Her voice was icy cold. He didn't even seem to hear her, too engrossed in the paper he was reading. Her whole body vibrated with anger. She could hear her pulse in her ears. Unfiltered rage fizzed, and before she knew what she was doing, she had leapt onto his legs and was pulling at the sock. She couldn't get it off easily because his jeans were in the way. Greg's arms reached around her. What the hell are you doing? Take off your bloody socks, she screeched at him. She was like a harpy, completely out of control. She didn't even recognise her own voice. She pulled and ripped at the sock, simultaneously batting away Greg's large hands that were desperately trying to control her. He tried to buck her off his legs, but she would not move, fury giving her a strength she didn't know she possessed. He roared at her, trying to get her to stop, but she couldn't, even if she had wanted to. She had started pulling at the hole in the sock, making it bigger and scratching at his foot as she tried to rip it away. A sudden pressure around her throat knocked all the fight from her. Her hands clawed at Greg's as she tried to pull his hands from around her throat. Her lungs screamed for air and black lights danced in her eyes. Sophie scratched at his hands and then the pressure was gone. She fell off his legs onto the floor, holding her neck as she greedily gulped in breath after breath. Sophie lay on the floor, dizzy and weak, unable to move. In her peripheral vision, she saw Greg's hairy toe walk away from her and out of the room. What the hell just happened? There you go.
Yeah, I think we're all asking that same question too. Hannah Ray Millington, I think, has summed it. She says, "Oh, very powerful. It's like she's battling with a person's idyllic thoughts of being with someone, and then boom, really hits her." Yeah,
Definitely.
totally. Um, yeah. So people have talked about your powerful writing. Most definitely is. It's the detail. Definitely. Yeah, Alistair, what an evocative scene and superbly written, and also superbly read as well. Because I think
I
very
forgot
often
about that.
it's yeah that brings it. Yeah, it just across. Now there are, because of what you've been reading, there's more questions that have come in. And so let's just make sure we get as many as possible. Um, so Sarah McHale wants to know which authors have inspired you. I mean,
Oh, so many. I used to, before I started writing and before I ran my own business, I used to average about 100 books a year. So absolutely so many authors, but so obviously Caroline Mitchell, I attribute her to me even considering this. So and I love her writing. My favorite authors are I love John Mars. I think he is the king of darkness with some of the books that he's written. The Good Samaritan will just kind of like, I felt like I'd been beaten by a baseball bat after I'd read that book. It just kind of twist after twist, like, so I would just love to be able to do something like that. But yeah, so I there's so many, but yeah, John Mars, I absolutely love him. And B.A. Paris, her first book, Behind Closed Doors, I really enjoyed that as well. I found that one really good. Yeah, there's probably loads more, but I can't think of any at the moment. But yeah,
thank you. Now,
comes to mind.
Michael Nelson has asked, do you see yourself writing in other genre in the future, or are the thrillers more to your style?
To be fair, I'm actually working on. I've got a 3-book deal with Bloodhound for 2 more psychological thrillers, which I have the ideas for. I know what I want to do with those, but I do want to write a romantic comedy. I do want to dip my toe in that, because I find when I do my thrillers, I have to edit out a lot of the comedy that I put in it. Because you said to me, it's so funny, because you said to me when before we came on about like, because I write such dark stuff, it makes you wary of me. But I'm such a, like, I'm always trying to make people laugh in conversations, and will just tell anything. That I have no filter and stuff, so I will just say anything. And so I would quite like to explore that in my writing, and write something funny, because I do try and be funny a lot. So when I do my books, I have to very sadly take out quite a lot of the funny things that I've put in and hold back with
I
that.
would love, yeah, I would love to see that other side of you on the page, because I think just as darknesses, I could see that your comedy that you would write would be hilarious. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I wouldn't even have to make it up, because so
Sue's
many
face,
funny
Sue's in
things
the
happen
house.
to me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks,
So just,
Steve.
yeah, as they say, write what you know. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like I said, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have to
Glad
do
you could be with.
anything for a rom-com.
But let's get back to the darkness. Let's get back to save her. We're not here to be
Yes.
jolly. Well, we are, because we're here to celebrate you and what you've written. But I wonder if you wouldn't mind, because we've got the bloggers are here with us, and so I wonder if you could tell us, what is it that you're looking forward to from the upcoming book tour?
Oh, just see what other people, how they've reacted to the book, and which bit kind of resonates with who. I always find that really fascinating. With my first book, a lot of people emailed me and messaged me about the character of Adam, and it was really nice to know that I kind of got into the male psyche and kind of represented that. So it's just really nice and interesting to hear kind of like which bits people picked out and liked the best and stuff, and I love hearing that. So I love reading in blog tours what they think, and when I read a book review, honestly, every word just means so much. It's just it really boosts my confidence. I can't thank anyone enough for that.
That is great. Again, it's one of those questions, isn't it, that sort of like is ongoing at the moment about blog tours, and but I truly believe that it is one of the most beautiful ways to get the word out about a book, because it's people who love to read.
Exactly, and they put so much time and effort into it, because having done it myself, I know, like, fiddling about with formatting on WordPress and stuff like that, it takes time, and so these people are selflessly giving their time up to shout about books and stuff. So I think it's an amazing thing to be a part of.
I totally agree. Abby, would you let me go back to the topic of the worms in the book?
Yeah. So well, that one, funnily enough, I was thinking, I had this very strange dream about where every single morning I would wake up and there would be a worm on my face, and it really stuck with me, and I decided to put it in this book. But I wanted to be able to write about worms authentically, so I had a brainstorming session with my friend Rachel, and she helped me kind of like write the scene, but I still wasn't happy with it. So I do have to admit that I did put a worm on my face in the name of research, and it was horrifically terrifying, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, just because I wanted to kind of be able to write authentically about it, because I wanted it to be one of the most disturbing scenes in the book. So I did that, and I don't think I slept
That
very
is
well
dedication.
for a very long time.
Dedication.
I know. I did not sleep well for a very long time after that. I tried to persuade my husband to do it. I tried every trick in the book to persuade him to do it, and he wouldn't. So I had to do it myself. So yeah. So I haven't told anyone that, really. I feel like it's quite a silly thing to do.
you have viewers who are saying they just could not do it, and I'm in total agreement with you. That is dedication to craft. Again, at the moment, the idea of if it's not your experience, you shouldn't be writing it. Well, I think nobody can say that's
And
not
they're
your
really hard to
experience.
find as
Yes.
well. It took me a while to find a worm as well.
Where if it's not too delicate a question, where did you find it?
Well, where I used to live, I lived near by like a river and grassland, so I just kind of had a hunt round there. Honestly, it wasn't an instant thing. I had to kind of put some work in to find one because I just had a small back garden and there was nothing in there. Well, hopefully it paid off and
But
people enjoyed that scene in the
digging,
book anyway.
but digging for worms, digging inside someone's psyche,
Yeah,
creating damaged characters, because I think that is so very clear in the
yeah.
text for so many reasons. Um, have you taken a long study of psychology, and do you enjoy delving into the darker side of humanity?
Yeah, I think like I have like had so many positive things happen in my life. I've had a great upbringing, but I have had quite a lot of other not so nice things have happened to me. I've not had the perfect 2.4 life, but I wouldn't change any of it because it's made me who I am today. And so I do explore quite a lot of things in the book, and the character's psyche I do draw a lot from personal experience. And I do, when I watch things and I see things, I do take things on. I'm quite a sensitive person, so like I deal with like loss in the book and getting into how that can damage you and make you more vulnerable and things like that. Like that is something that I am quite interested in. So yeah, so I do enjoy kind of looking at why, what happens to you, how that can impact you later on in life.
Mhm. And I really appreciated, you know, the way we learn why about things, because I think if you didn't provide that, you know, I think we'd be left extremely disturbed by people's actions or reactions and things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for putting that side into it. Leanne Bone Murphy
My number one fan.
says about says about the worms. Kerry said I could do it to her. Um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I wonder how many people after this evening's session thinking, do you know, actually, it might be worth giving it a go with the
No,
worm.
don't. It was
And
really horrible because you just get phantom worm syndrome and you think it's on your face like forever. It's not nice. Ugh. No.
the other thing to talk about, damaged characters, contemporary relationships, really difficult subject matter. At any one point in writing this book, did you think, I can't go there? I better not do that.
Um, no, I don't think so. No. I was I enjoy exploring things like that through the book, and kind of like I find it quite therapeutic. Like you say, there's a reason behind things, and I like to explore that. Whereas in some of the books I've read, the people are just psychopaths and there's no explanation.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
quite like to do that, and I think in this book I've hopefully explained and given a reason and kind of gone into the past to people to kind of help you kind of understand them a bit more rather than they're just pure evil.
Now, right back at the beginning, before we even started, and I love this, and I'm really sorry I can't remember the name of the person who asked the question, but somebody said, can we expect more? Yeah.
Oh yeah, is
Yeah,
this
Daisy,
book?
sorry. Yeah. will there be a sequel?
Yeah, so I left it open-ended because I did have a good idea that I would quite like to explore more of one of the specific characters in the book, and so this is something that I'm considering. I don't think it'll be my next one. I think I want to I've got to read, because when I was writing this one I had a really strong idea for another one as well, and I couldn't decide between the two of them which one I wanted to write, and then in the end this one kind of took over. So I do want to explore that other one because I've already got quite a lot for that already. But yeah, I have left it open-ended so that I can kind of go back into that with one of the characters, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, without wishing to give anything away, you know, there is a massive sense of determination.
Yeah, so I
You
think
know,
from whoever, if you read the book, you'll kind of guess who I want to explore.
Now, just thinking as well about the image on on the cover, and it would suggest that you're not somebody that believes in happy ever after.
I suppose so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I in my writing, definitely. Not necessarily what I think in real life, but yeah, it just, I can see where you get that from my writing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it very much encouraged me that you talked about, how you've been celebrating today with your husband. I did a beautiful way, that the idea of horse riding together. I think it's
Oh,
and yeah,
yeah, I've been with him for 10 years and I've been asking him to go horse riding, and the fact he actually went with me, I laughed my head off when we pulled up into the car park, because it showed like he's putting himself out of his comfort zone to do something he would absolutely hate. And that's
yeah,
why I like, he's one of those people who doesn't tell me that he loves me, but he does it through actions like that, which is
yeah,
lovely. So yeah,
yeah.
so no, I do believe in happy ever after. I think in my first book I got criticized for making it too romantic especially towards the end. So I think that's probably why I've gone the opposite. I've kind of pulled that back in this one.
I
Just a
think you've
tad.
done. I was going to say, I think you've done more than pull it back.
Yeah,
And
I know.
yeah, and this might be a personal question, but I think we're here and discussing this book, and you've given us the reading that you've just given us. Do you ensure that your husband has no holes in his socks?
My husband has tons of holes in his socks. My husband is just useless with things like that, but I've learned to just let it go. He wears what same pair of trousers and clothes until they're completely beyond repair. So yeah, but I've let it go. It doesn't bother me the way it does Sophie.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Now, I am aware that we're coming, to the close of our celebration of you
Yeah.
and Save Her. And I just wonder if anybody else has got any more questions that they'd like to put up, or any more comments. Um, Again, I think the ripples from this book will go out far and wide.
Thank you.
What I would love to see from this are like comments from book clubs. I know, we said about the book club that didn't happen in Wonder, but I think
Oh
this is
yeah.
such an amazing text for people to get round and discuss together.
Yeah.
It's a book to be savoured alone, but it's a book to be had in discussion.
So weird hearing you talk about that. Like, I can't believe it's my book you're actually talking about.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah,
surreal.
yeah. But it is. And I know you've talked about it previously as we've been discussing, but I think I'd like to ask this last question to you, um, because it is a book about friendship, and it is a book about being. Oh, Rachel's come up with a question. I'll get Rachel's question in before. She says, "Where's your favourite place to write?"
Oh gosh, it changes really depending on the mood that I'm in. I did buy a writing shed and persuaded my husband I absolutely needed a writing shed, but didn't realise that it would only be suitable when it wasn't too hot or wasn't too cold. So that was a waste of
It's out the
time. So
window.
I actually just started writing on my kitchen table after all that. I've got this fancy writing shed outside, but I wrote most of this book just sat at my kitchen table. So I'm very boring in that respect, I'm afraid.
But the idea of, I'm going to be there, but actually, no, it's going to be here. You're going to do your writing here. I hope you get that shed sorted so it can be used in all weathers.
Yeah. Well, we've moved now, so hopefully I'm being really greedy. I'm getting a room for because I work from home, so I'm getting a room for my day job, and then I'm also decided that I need a second office in the house for my writing room. So my poor husband, he was going to have a gaming room, but it's now been commandeered.
I thought you were going to say he's been relegated to the shed.
No.
That's his space.
That is an interesting idea, actually.
No. Now, before we close, from myself, I just really want to wish you all the best.
Thank you.
As I say, I think this is going to absolutely fly. I've no doubt about that. But if it's okay with you, stay with me while we bring on the other part of this double act, without whom none of this would be possible. Kelly Lacey, will you come back in?
The most amazing lady ever.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was amazing. I just want to say that the book tour starts on the 24th of May.
Yep.
And also, if you've read Abby's book, please put your review on Goodreads and Amazon. It's really important and it means a lot.
Thank you.
No problem. And the book tour
Brilliant. I just want to
a little bit across over there. Sorry, Jacky. Yeah. No, go on.
No, I was just going to say to thank everybody that's been on with us as well this evening, because there's been a real sense of celebration together, which things should be. So thanks everybody for being here with us. That's been lovely. And I'll be quiet. Kelly, you were talking about how long is the blog tour on for?
I just wanted to double check. It's 7 days, isn't it? 10 days.
Yeah,
10 days.
And I just want to say it's a book tour, not a blog tour, because we've included
I'm sorry.
grammars as well. No, I'm not correcting you, Jacky. Just overall, not correcting you. But the tour combines the two, book bloggers and bookstagrammers. So you'll be everywhere, Abby.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone that has signed up for my tour, because I think there's some of you on here tonight, and everyone that has read and reviewed the book, and all my friends and family putting up with me over the last few years while I've been writing this. And thanks to Kelly, she's like the most amazing person in the world. Oh, actually, the person who asked what advice I'd give to somebody with a thriller, I would say use Kelly for your marketing, because she's incredible. So that would be my advice, because she's just the most supportive person ever. So I may have to write a book just about how amazing Kelly is, I think.
Thank you so much.
Enough.
Oh, I'm blushing. I went off now. Kelly, take me off.
No.
And Jacky, you never get a thank you at the events, because I'm always
thank you so much.
Thank you, Jacky. You're amazing.
Listen, it is an absolute pleasure just to be able to do this and talk good books. That is one of life's amazing moments. So thank you for letting me do this. It's brilliant.
Abby, congratulations.
Thanks.
Everyone, please buy Save Her.
Yeah.
Today. It's 99p on Kindle.
Yeah.
I will disappear. Thank you for letting me interrupt.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
No worries. Maggie, thanks for looking after us tonight as well with the questions.
Thank you, Maggie.
Have a great read, people, and we'll see you back here soon. Abigail, keep in touch. Let us know how it's going.
Definitely.
I should say Abby. I'm really sorry.
Yes,
that was your pen name.
Only my Sunday
Abby.
name. I know.
Yeah.
Don't worry. My mum made me put Abigail on the book. She was adamant I had to have my birth name on the book, but don't. So it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank
See you soon. Yeah.
Bye.
Good night for now.
Bye.
Bye.